Thank you very much for the scientific committee for the invitation. And I've been asked to speak about the step-up approach in juvenile idiopathic arthritis. I will go just over background information that I believe every one of you knows about it. I have nothing to disclose regarding this presentation. So the objective for this presentation, as been requested from the scientific committee, is to provide an overview of the step-up approach and I choose non-systemic GIA because the systemic GIA has a different domain, focusing on the conventional therapeutic regimen and to discuss the effectiveness and advantage and the disadvantages. So as you all know, over the last 2 decades, there is a tremendous improvement in the treatment for the juvenile idiopathic arthritis, starting from the strong evidence that came about the methotrexate effectiveness and safety and being used as a principal conventional DMARD, and the widespread use of the intra-articular steroid injections. And then the anti-TNF revolutionized the treatment for GIA, followed by the other biological treatments. And this has made the state of disease remission and minimal disease activity is achievable. And this is definitely has been shown to be associated with less articular and extra-articular damage. Multiple international guidelines addressing how to do and how to treat different types of juvenile idiopathic arthritis. And this has been parallel, this therapeutic success has been parallel with the development and validation of important specific tools that to be used not just only in the clinical trials, but also on the day-to-day management, including the juvenile idiopathic remission and minimal disease activity definition, starting from the Wallace criteria, which is a bit limited because it does include just only the physician global assessment and joint count, and the compared with the much more inclusive definition for the JDAS that addresses the parent and child global statement. In 2018, the International Task Force, they adopt the treat to target concept, and this has, after the success in the treatment of treat to target concept in the adult practice, and now it is in any EOLR endorsed treatment recommendation. The treat to target is part of the foundation, and not just only in rheumatoid arthritis, but also in lupus and other arthritis conditions. And the idea is to control symptoms and signs, prevent structural damage, avoid another comorbid conditions associated with the disease and drug toxicity in order to optimize function, growth, and development, and ultimately the quality of life. And the target is not just only to have inactive disease, but also to ultimately have a drug-free remission. So the treat to target principles are early suppression of inflammation associated with the prevention of radiological progression by applying a very tight control, targeting inactive disease within 6 months. So there is a period to achieve this target for non-systemic GIA because the statement is different for systemic GIA, or a minimally disease activity, and the treatment accordingly should be adjusted if the target hasn't been achieved. And it is also recommended to use the minimal dose of steroid because we are dealing with the growing children. And they have published this guideline with the 3 arching principles and 8 recommendations. You can, I think every one of you knows about it. So what is the best strategy to achieve inactive disease in juvenile idiopathic arthritis? Is it a step up or step down? Thank you, Dr. Muhammad, for applying the definitions. Mind you, both concepts is applied to achieve remission in a short time and also to sustain that remission, and hopefully to sustain this remission of medication. So when it comes to randomized controlled trials addressing the treatment strategies, it is very limited. And this table just only summarizes 5 trials addressing the treatment strategies over the past 20 years. And I will highlight just only the 3 of them that will touch base with the step-up approach. So the first trial is from the Dutch group, and it is done over 2 years using a 3-armed randomized trial with the three lines, and it is called Best for Kids study. And it is a 3-armed randomized single-blinded multi-center trial for non-systemic GIA. Addressing the effectiveness and safety of 3 different strategies using a step-up approach. The first one is monotherapy with methotrexate or sulfasalazine. The second one is methotrexate with the prednisolone bridging therapy over 6 weeks. The third one is initial etanercept with methotrexate, and including in it is the treat-to-target approach. So step up with the treat-to-target approach. Aiming to 50% improvement after 3 months and inactive disease in 6 months. So this diagram summarizes some of the important results highlighted in this study. The first, the green one is the sequential. The orange is the combination of methotrexate with the bridging 6 weeks steroid. The third one is the combination of methotrexate and etanercept. You can see in the inactive disease, which is the blue one, remission could have been achieved within 3 months. However, the median around 9 months, almost 60% from the methotrexate with etanercept did reach to remission. Less than that is around 54% in arm 1 with the sequential monotherapy, and for the methotrexate with bridging steroid dose was in 47%. When they followed those patients over a 2 years' time, at around 15 months, more than 50% of the cases, they weaned off their DMARDs and they went into remission. However, a good number or percentage of them relapsed, mostly in those with the methotrexate. And however, by 2 years, almost 70%, they reached to a state of disease remission, and 39% they were even drug-free remission. So they concluded that treat-to-target with a tight control is, in long term, is probably more important than the initial strategy that has been used. Second one is treat-to-target study for improved outcome in polyarticular GIA. This is a German study, and it's an open label, single-arm, multi-center investigation for treat-to-target strategy using the JDAS as a principal tool. And they have defined an acceptable JDAS of less than 5.4 to be reached in 6 months, with a minimal disease activity at 9 months, and endpoint remission after 12 months. So they have defined the JDAS terms and the remission state to be reached not in 6 months, but they give it up to 12 months. And initially, all patients were placed on methotrexate, intra-articular steroid injection, or non-steroidal has been acceptable to be included based on the physician request. And then they have applied step-up approach, and failure to meet any defined target is justifiable to upgrade the treatment. And they did not decide about what biologics can be used like the first study. So as you can see here, after 1 year, 12 months, 54 patients were treated according to this protocol. The black is the treat-to-target applied group or cohort, and the gray is the Biker comparable group, where a standard treatment has been applied. And you can see at the three stages of JDAS activity, the treat to target group has achieved a better outcome compared with those who received standard care. JDAS in remission was reached in 48% of the cases. Interestingly, almost 60% of those were just only on methotrexate monotherapy. And of those who were on methotrexate monotherapy, almost 85% they have reached minimal disease activity. So conventional treatment can be still good. So they concluded guided treat to target strategy with early escalation of therapy was superior to unguided treatment, and significantly more patients achieved the JDAS minimal disease activity or remission after 12 months compared with the standard, and approximately half of the patients achieved their goal without the use of biologic therapy. The third study is a real-world effectiveness of common treatment strategies for GIA from the Canadian cohort, and where they have looked into their cohort between 2005 and 10. This is over 5 years, and they have observed more than 4,000 treatment episodes for over 1,300 children. And they defined success as attainment of inactive disease or maintenance of this state when stepping down of treatment, and minimal disease activity was acceptable for children with poly-GIA. So they have looked to all types of GIA, including the systemic. I will go over some important outcomes graphs. This one is for the non-steroidal monotherapy, which has been observed in 679 trials with an overall success rate in 54%. The most commonly used drug is the naproxen. And when they added this intra-articular steroid injection, this has improved the outcome up to 60%. Definitely, the number of joints is an important player, so better outcome or better success rate can be achieved in those with less joint compared with those with polyarticular. The next one is for an important highlight is when they look to the associated characteristics during this STEP trial, what was the negative association for having unsuccessful outcome. They found that number one is the number of joints. If you have more joints, this is negatively associated with a better response or a clinical success for non-steroidal, and the presence of ankle joint. The second one is the methotrexate-based trials, which has been observed in 382 trials, where methotrexate has been combined with non-steroidal. In 41 trials, methotrexate has been used just only as a monotherapy. In all the trials, there is a very good success rate that is approaching more than 60%, which is even, as expected, it's better for those with less joints, less than 5 joints compared with those more than 5 joints. And the median duration was 11.5 success rate to be attained, and for non-successful trials, it was six months. And when they looked to the important variables, they found that the number of active joints at the trial was negatively associated with a better success rate, and the cervical spine and the wrist joints were also, their involvement was negatively associated. So number of joints, type of joints involved were negatively associated with a success rate. When they looked to those trials where the biologics were added, the anti-TNF is the principal biologics used added to synthetic DMARD, whether it is methotrexate or sulfasalazine, plus or minus non-steroid or steroid. And in all the trials, or most of it, it was added after 1 year, and it was successful in 62%. A specificity of the systemic GIA made anakinra is a reasonable choice to be added for the treatment regimen, and it was observed in 24 times, mostly after treatment failure of steroid, non-steroidal, and methotrexate. So they have concluded that real-world effectiveness estimate conventional non-biological DMARDs and strategies are recommended, and it is effective in achieving targets in many of children with GIA. There is an ongoing trial, which is, I believe, the inclusion for it is, I'm done. Which is the STARS trial that we are waiting for it to be concluded and to be published. And this is looking to a 12-month multi-center randomized single-blinded superior clinical trial for the two different approaches, the step up and step down. And it is meant to follow those patients for 5 years to evaluate the disease course, the medication regimen, adverse events, and long-term related mortality. Still, the result hasn't been published. So, in summary, it seems that the step-up approach has a good evidence behind it, and conventional DMARDs can induce remission in the majority of cases of juvenile idiopathic arthritis. If not, it is minimal disease activity, and hence we can avoid unnecessary use of biologics. It is cost-effective, especially in countries with limited access to biologics. However, if you want to use it, it has to be supported with a guided treatment like treat to target or consensus treatment plans. The advantages: you might miss the window of opportunity for more severe cases, hence, because juvenile idiopathic arthritis is a heterogeneous group. So you might miss the window of opportunity at the beginning for more severe types. The challenge is how you can sustain this inactive or minimal disease activity when you start weaning those drugs. It's very well known that relapse is a risk always when you start weaning. It is much more with the synthetic DMARDs compared with the biological DMARDs. And we don't have a unified protocol for treatment or tapering strategies. So always there is a risk for a flare after tapering. And this is probably one of the advantages if you want to adhere for just only conventional DMARDs. That's it. Thank you.